people are now behaving somewhat more tribal than they have for a long time.
You've explicitly stated that you do not consider diversity when hiring for leadership roles and board members.
We are looking for people who are business savvy, shareholder-oriented, and have a special interest in Berkshire.
Well, years ago, I did some work for the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Los Angeles. And my senior partner pompously said, you know, you don't need to hire us to do this. There's plenty of good Catholic tax lawyers. And the Archbishop looked at him like he was an idiot and said, Mr. Peeler, he says, last year I had some very serious surgery and I did not look around for the leading Catholic surgeon. That's the way I feel about board members.
Charlie Munger. When a Catholic archbishop needs a surgery, he doesn't go around looking for the best Catholic surgeon. Tribalism and racism is dangerous when 2 + 2 becomes 5. Warren Buffett is against tribalism and racism, but he is also not in favor of diversity. Are these contrary positions reconcilable? Please watch until the end to find out. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.
The one development that I really do think is actually important, but I don't know any way to do anything about it. But my general sense, and there's no way to prove it, but I essentially believe people are now behaving somewhat more tribal than they have for a long time. And I mean, people are always going to be partisan, and they're going to have religious beliefs, they're going to have all kinds of things, but it gets pretty tribal. And I want to tell you, I speak from experience because I've been tribal. And, we're confessing today. Nebraska football is tribal. And when I watch a television set and I see our guys Nebraska step out of bounds by a foot, but somehow the ref misses it and calls it in, and then they show 6 replays, I'll continue to believe it was in, even though it's right in front of my eyes. They stepped out. That's tribal behavior. And it's fun. I mean, participate in. But it can get very dangerous when one group of people say 2 + 2 is 5, and another say it's 2 + 2 is 3, and they're going to give you those answers if you call them. And the interesting thing is, to me, at least, and partly because of my age, but I actually think that, just from memory, that the last time that the country was seen as tribal was actually when I was a kid and Roosevelt was in. Either you hated Roosevelt or you loved him. I mean, nobody cared about the fact Alf Landon was running or Wendell Willkie was running against him. They just had these feelings. They either had Roosevelt's picture on the wall and named their kids after Roosevelt, or they hated him. And they thought he was going to, no third term, and, a million things. And the country was very, very tribal in the 30s, but Roosevelt's tribe was bigger. And in my opinion, they did some wonderful things, but I happened to grow up in a household where we didn't get served dessert until we said something nasty about Roosevelt. I mean, I'm speaking. And believe me, if you don't get dessert, you're going to say something nasty about Roosevelt. And so you trained them young, and all kinds of things. And so I think I've seen a period that it wasn't that way when, if Eisenhower was running against Stevenson or whatever it might be. I mean, people, they had a partisan behavior, and they had a certain amount of tribal always. But I don't think it's a good development for society generally when people get tribal, regardless. I mean,
About 24 men and women work with you, Warren, at our corporate office. I see from last year the quality of the picture has been improved in the annual report, so congratulations on that. However, looking at it, there is something that comes to anyone's attention, and is the lack of diversity among the staff. A 2015 analysis by Calvert Investments found that Coca-Cola was one of the best companies for workplace diversity, while Berkshire Hathaway was one of the worst. You've explicitly stated that you do not consider diversity when hiring for leadership roles and board members. Does that need to change? Are we missing any investment opportunities as a result? And do you consider diversity, however defined, of company leadership and staff when analyzing the value of a company that you may want to purchase?
Well, it's a multiple part question. The answer to the last one is no. What was the one before it?
You've explicitly stated you do not consider diversity when hiring for leadership roles and board members. Does that need to change, and are we missing any investment opportunities as a result?
No, we will select board members, and we lay it out, and we've done so for years, and I think we've been much more explicit than most companies. We are looking for people who are business savvy, shareholder oriented, and have a special interest in Berkshire. And we found people like that. And as a result, I think we've got the best board that we could have. They're not in it. They're clearly not in it for the money. I get called by consulting firms who've been told to get candidates for directors for other companies. And by the questions they ask, it's clear they've got something other than the three questions we ask in terms of directors in mind. They really want somebody whose name will reflect credit on the institution, which means a big name. And one organization recently, the one that did the blood samples with small pricks, they got some very big names on their board. And Theranos, I think, is that the way you pronounce it, Charlie? Theranos?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the names are great, but we're not interested in people that want to be on the board because they want to make $200,000 or $300,000 a year, for 10% of their time. And we're not interested in the ones for whom it's a prestige item, and who want to go and check boxes or that sort of thing. So I think we will continue to apply that test: business savvy, shareholder oriented, and with a strong personal interest in Berkshire. And every share of the Berkshire that our shareholders own, they bought just like everybody else in this room. They haven't gotten them on option, or they haven't gotten, I've been on boards where they've given me stock. I get it for breathing, basically. At half a dozen places that are maybe 3 or 4 that I was on the board of. We want our shareholders to walk in the shoes, our directors to walk in the shoes of shareholders. We want them to care a lot about the business, and we want to be smart enough so that they know enough about business that they know what they should get involved in and what they shouldn't get involved in. The people in the office, I'm hoping that when we take the Christmas picture again this year, they're exactly the same 25 that were there last year, even though we might have added 30,000 employees elsewhere and maybe 10 billion of sales or something like that. It's a remarkable group of people. And just take this meeting. Virtually every one of the 25, our CFO, my assistant, whoever, they've been doing job after job connected with making this meeting a success and a pleasant outing for our shareholders. It's a cooperative effort. The idea that you would have some department called annual meeting department, and you'd have a person in charge of it, and he would have an assistant, and then they would go to various conferences about holding annual meetings, and build up, and then they hire consultants to come in and help them on the meeting. We just don't operate that way. And it's a place where everybody helps each other. Part of what makes my job is extraordinarily easy, but the people around me really make it easy. And part of the reason it's easy is because we don't have any committees. Maybe we have some committee I don't know about, but I've never been invited to any committees. I'll put it that way at Berkshire, and we may have a PowerPoint someplace. I haven't seen it, and I wouldn't know how to use it anyway. We just don't have make work activities, and we might go to a baseball game together or something like that. But I've seen the other kind of operation, and I like ours better. I'll put it that way. Charlie?
Well, years ago, I did some work for the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Los Angeles. And my senior partner pompously said, you don't need to hire us to do this. There's plenty of good Catholic tax lawyers. And the Archbishop looked at him like he was an idiot and said, Mr. Peeler, he says, last year I had some very serious surgery, and I did not look around for the leading Catholic surgeon. That's the way I feel about board members.